Good day everyone, I am Angel Grace Buntog from BS at chap2, and I will be discussing the Chapter 2 of the Philippine Tourism Law, which is the Philippine Constitution. So the Philippine Constitution is the foundation of the country's governance, establishing the fundamental principles and structures of the government. It is the fundamental law of the land to which all other laws must conform. In the context of tourism, the Constitution plays a crucial role in protecting individual rights and promoting nationality. First law is the Bill of Rights, specifically the Section 1, guarantees that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. This provision has significant implications for tourism, as it ensures that tourists and businesses are treated fairly and justly. For instance, if a tourist is accused of a crime, they have the right to due process, including a fair trial and equal protection under the law. Similarly, businesses in the tourism industry have the right to equal protection, ensuring that they are not unfairly discriminated against or deprived of their property without just compensation. So in Article 12 of the Constitution deals with the management and conservation of the country's natural resources and cultural heritage. This provision has significant implications for sustainable tourism, as it ensures that the country's natural and cultural resources are protected and preserved for future generations. For example, the Constitution mandates that the states shall protect and conserve the country's natural resources, including its forests, waters, and minerals. This provision ensures that tourism development is done in a sustainable and responsible manner, minimizing harm to the environment and preserving the country's natural beauty. So again, the Constitution guarantees that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. The term life encompasses more than just existence, including the right to a decent living. Liberty, as defined by Justice Malcolm, includes the freedom to live and work where one chooses, earn a livelihood, and pursue any lawful calling. So the Constitution also ensures equal protection under the law, where the person similarly situated should be treated similarly. Due process of law involves a fair and impartial trial with reasonable opportunity for defense preparation. Procedural due process requires a court or tribunal with judicial power, lawful jurisdiction, opportunity for the defendant to be heard, and judgment rendered upon lawful hearing. These constitutional guarantees have significant implications for individuals and businesses in the tourism industry. They ensure that tourists and businesses are treated fairly and justly. So for more understanding, here is an example of application of the law. The case of Congressman Peter Genuino raises important questions about due process and extradition. Guino is a Filipino citizen and accused of tax evasion and dealing prohibited drugs in United States. The U.S. government has requested his extradition from the Philippines to face investigation under the U.S. jurisdiction. Guino has demanded his extradition papers to file an opposition in Philippine courts without being extradited. However, the Philippine government, in agreement with the American government, has refused to provide him with these papers. The question is whether Guino's rights to due process has been violated. According to legal opinion, the answer is no. Presidential Decree Number 1069, which implements the RP-US Extradition Treaty, states that an extraditee will receive a copy of the petition for extradition and supporting papers only after the petition is filed in the extradition court. This means that Genuino is not entitled to notice and hearing during the evaluation stage of the extradition process. Providing him with extradition papers at this stage could allow him to flee and undermine the investigation. In conclusion, Genuino's right to due process has not been violated, as the law does not require notice and hearing during the evaluation stage of extradition. So the next law is the privacy of communication and correspondence in the tourism industry. So the tourism industry relies heavily on communication and correspondence, making it essential to understand the laws that apply to these interactions. So Section 3 of the relevant law emphasizes the importance of privacy in communication and correspondence. Provision encompasses various forms of communication, including the letter, telegram, telephone calls, and messages. Republic Act No. 4200, Anti-Wiretapping Law. This law imposes penalties for violating the privacy of communication. Under Section 3, courts may authorize wiretaps for specific crimes such as treason, espionage, piracy, rebellion, sedition, kidnapping, offenses against national security. Evidence obtained in violation of the anti-wiretapping law is considered fruit from the poisonous tree and is inadmissible in any administrative or criminal proceeding. So the implication of this law in our industry, the tourism industry, is that the privacy of communication and correspondence is crucial in the tourism industry, where sensitive information is often shared between parties. Understanding the laws that govern these interactions is essential for maintaining confidentiality and avoiding legal repercussions. So here's the example application of the law in a scenario. The National Bureau of Investigations conducted an entrapment operation to catch high-profile drug dealers using hotel suites. Wiretapping devices were installed and NBI agents occupied an adjacent suite. However, the operation raises questions about its legality and justification. So the legal opinion is the operation is considered illegal under Republic Act No. 4200, which regulates wiretapping. The law strictly limits wiretapping to specific offenses, and drug dealing is not among them. Consequently, any evidence obtained through wiretapping is inadmissible in court. So the implication of this case highlights the tension between public safety and individual privacy. While law enforcement agencies must investigate and prosecute crimes, they must also respect citizens' rights and adhere to legal procedures. Next, the tourism industry, being labor-intensive, often experiences disputes between labor and management. Section 4 of the Constitution guarantees freedom of speech, expression, and the press, as well as the right to peaceful assembly and petition. However, this freedom is not absolute, and obscenity is not protected. So defining the obscenity includes materials that appeal to prurient interest and lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Guidelines for determining obscenity consider the prurient interest. So does the material appeal to a morbid or unhealthy interest in sex? Next is the patently offensive. Does the material depict or describe sexual conduct in a way that is prohibited by the law? Next is the lack of value. Does the material lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value? So the Supreme Court pronouncement in People of the Philippines versus Marina Padan y Alova, the Supreme Court condemned the exhibition of obscene materials, stating that such materials have no redeeming feature and are a clear offense to a public morals. So the tourism industry must be mindful of the boundaries of freedom of speech and expression, while artistic expression is protected, obscene materials that exploit women and children or promote harmful behavior are not. So, for that law, here's the application of the law. So, Fort Santiago is a well-maintained, wholesome historic theme park in Manila. The regular park promenaders were suddenly awed by paradigm young girls clad in skimpy bikinis. These were movie starlets who were doing a pictorial for a magazine. There were occasions when the director would tell the girls to take off their bikini bras only to cover their breasts with their arms. The crowd was uneasy and grew bigger as the pictorial lasted almost over an hour. The councilor who was near the location reminded the director of the city ordinance and the law that they were violating. So the scenario in Fort Santiago raises important questions about the application of law, morality, and public policy. So the Manila councilor intervened, citing a city ordinance that prohibits lewd acts offensive to morals and public policy. But did the councilor have the right to stop the pictorial, and did the organizers and participants actually violate any law? So from a legal standpoint, the councilor's actions were justified. The city ordinance in question is a legitimate exercise of a police power aimed at maintaining public morality and order. The state has the authority to enact legislation that may limit personal liberty or property rights if it promotes the general welfare. The line between art and obscenity can be blurry, and it's up to the courts to decide what constitutes a violation of public morality. Okay, next, every person has the right to travel and reside anywhere he chooses. So the Constitution guarantees every person the right to travel and reside anywhere they choose, subject to certain limitations. Section C of the Constitution ensures that the liberty of abode and the right to travel are protected except in specific circumstances. So here's the key components of the constitutional provision. First is the individuals have the right to select their place of residence and dwelling and to change it as they see fit within the limits prescribed by the law. Next, the citizens have the right to travel within or outside the country subject to certain exemptions. Here's the limitation on freedom of movement and residence. While these constitutional liberties are essential, they are not absolute. The government may regulate them through lawful orders of the court, particularly when the national security, public safety, or public health are at stake. So examples of limitations: a lawful order of the court such as a whole departure order may restrict an individual's right to travel. Next is when a person is accused of a crime and released on bail, a whole departure order may be issued to ensure their appearance in court. The Constitution strikes a balance between rights and national interest. While protecting the freedom of movement and residence, it also allows for necessary limitations to ensure national security, public safety, and public health. Once again, the tourism is labor-intensive, often sees the formation of unions and associations to protect employees' rights. Section 8 of the Constitution guarantees the right of people, including those employed in the public and private sectors, to form unions, associations, or societies for purposes not contrary to law. Here is the constitutional provision. The Constitution protects the right of employees to form unions, associations, or society. Also, the formation of unions and associations must not be for purposes that are contrary to law. And lastly, the government employees have the right to form unions, but the right to strike is not included in this provision. So unlike private sector employees, government employees do not have the constitutional right to strike. This is because civil service rules and regulations prohibit government employees from striking. So the tourism industry, which employs a significant number of people in both the public and private sectors, must be aware of the rights and limitations of employees when it comes to forming unions and associations. Understanding these provisions is essential for promoting positive labor relations and avoiding potential conflicts. Application of the law. So, Juni Bustillos, a room attendant, has been employed at a Quezon City hotel for 5 years. In his late 20s, Juni is a hardworking and very idealistic employee. He has seen many abuses by management, especially in the past 3 years in the hotel. Approximately 70% of the employees feel low morale because of these abuses, and they would readily support any move to form a union. So Juni took the initiative in talking to some potential leaders who will form the core group of a possible union. He believes that this is the only way they can protect the rights of the hotel workers. Upon learning of Juni's plan, top management gradually worked on a plan on how to get rid of Juni. After 3 months, Juni was convicted of serious charges, resulting in his dismissal from the hotel. So, did the hotel management do the right thing? Did the hotel management violate any law? So, the legal opinion answers yes. The hotel management violated the labor code of the Philippines, the 1987 Constitution, terminating Juni because of his initiative to form a possible union constitutes unfair labor practice in violation of Section 8, Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution. This may be construed as union bustling. So that's all for my report. Hope you learn about the Philippine Constitution.